The moon hung low in the ink-black sky, casting an eerie glow on the desolate campground. A chilling breeze rustled the leaves of the ancient trees, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. James sat alone by the dying embers of the campfire, his eyes scanning the impenetrable darkness beyond the flickering light. Earlier that day, his friends had decided to head back to town, leaving James alone to savor the solitude of the wilderness. He reveled in the idea of spending a night surrounded only by the whispering pines and the distant hoots of owls. Little did he know, the tranquility he sought would soon be shattered by an unforeseen terror. As James stared into the crackling flames, he heard a soft rustle behind him. He dismissed it as a nocturnal critter, common in these parts, but unease prickled at the back of his neck. Ignoring the feeling, he zipped up his tent, cocooning himself in nylon and mesh. The forest seemed to come alive with nocturnal sounds, the symphony of nature playing a haunting melody. But then, a discordant note entered the composition, a guttural growl that sent shivers down James's spine. He froze, straining his ears to locate the source of the ominous sound. The growl repeated, closer this time, its sinister undertones echoing through the silent night. Fear gripped James, paralyzing him momentarily. Was it a bear? A wolf? The growl intensified, now accompanied by the rhythmic snapping of twigs under heavy paws. Panic set in as James fumbled for his flashlight, its feeble beam cutting through the oppressive darkness. He cautiously unzipped the tent, peering into the shadows. What he saw made his blood run cold. Two glowing orbs, like malevolent stars, pierced the night. They hovered just beyond the reach of his flashlight, unblinking and filled with an intelligence that sent waves of terror crashing over him. The creature, a massive silhouette of fur and sinew, materialized from the shadows. Its eyes fixated on James, the growl reverberating with a predatory hunger. Heart pounding, James stumbled backward, his mind racing for an escape plan. The creature lunged, a blur of fur and fangs, and James barely managed to dive back into his tent. The nylon barrier offered little protection as the creature's claws scraped against the fabric, its hot breath seeping through the mesh. In the suffocating darkness, James clutched a pocket knife, his only defense against the unknown horror outside. The growls persisted, morphing into a sinister symphony, with the rhythmic scratching against the tent. The creature circled, toying with its prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. The night air grew thick with tension, the silence broken only by James's erratic breaths and the creature's malevolent growls. Unbeknownst to James, the true horror was about to unfold, a revelation that would shatter the boundaries between reality and nightmare. As the creature circled James's tent, its eyes glowed brighter, casting an otherworldly radiance. The air grew colder, and an unsettling static electricity charged the atmosphere. James clutched the pocket knife, his knuckles turning white, his mind racing to comprehend the unearthly entity that lurked just beyond the thin barrier of his tent. Suddenly, the growls ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that hung heavy in the night. James, paralyzed with fear, strained to hear any movement outside. It was then that a voice, soft and guttural, whispered through the fabric of the tent. "James, you cannot escape." The voice seemed to come from every direction, as if the very air itself had turned malevolent. James shuddered, his breath catching in his throat. How did this creature know his name? In the oppressive silence, the tent began to shimmer with an otherworldly light. James's surroundings morphed, the once familiar fabric of his tent replaced by a surreal dreamscape. The ground beneath him felt insubstantial, like standing on the edge of a void. With a slow, deliberate movement, the tent unzipped itself. James, compelled by an unseen force, stepped out into a nightmarish realm. The trees, now twisted and contorted, reached out like spectral hands. The moon above glowed blood red, casting an unholy glow on the night. The creature, no longer confined to the shadows, stood before James in all its grotesque glory. It bore the semblance of a wolf, but its form was warped and monstrous, as if born from the nightmares of the ancient forest itself. "James," the creature spoke again, its voice resonating through the twisted woods. "You trespassed into our domain, seeking solace in the darkness, but the darkness has claimed you." James, caught in the thrall of the supernatural, felt a profound sense of doom. The creature circled him, its eyes penetrating his very soul. With each step, the world around James twisted and contorted, a nightmarish kaleidoscope of horror. You carry the weight of the living, but here, in the realm of the forgotten, you are ours, the creature intoned. As the creature's final words echoed through the twisted forest, James felt an excruciating pain pierce his chest. He gasped, collapsing to the ground as an unseen force drained the life from him. The spectral woods closed in around him, and the creature's growls merged with the nightmarish symphony, a requiem for a lost soul. And just like that, the once silent campground embraced the eerie stillness of the afterlife. The moon cast its cold light on the vacant tent, as if mocking the transient nature of life and the inevitability of succumbing to the chilling embrace of the night.